Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about ethmoid bone. And here at the side you can see the diagrammatic representation of ethmoid bone showing different parts of ethmoid bone for the reference. So let's start our topic with introduction. Ethmoid bone is a lightweight, spongy bone located at the roof of nasal cavity between the two orbits and form part of the anterior canal fossa, nasal septum and medial wall of orbits. It is one of the most intricate bones in the skull and plays a central role in both sport and function. Talking about its anatomical component, it has cribriform plate as you can see in diagram, that is also called as horizontal plate. It has crista galli, perpendicular plate, ethmoid labyrinth that are also called as lateral masses or ethmoidal sinuses. All of these things you can see in diagram, and it also has superior and middle nasal conchae. Now let's talk about these components one by one. First, it has cribriform plate, that is a horizontal perforated plate forming part of the anterior cranial fossa. It allows passage of olfactory nerve fibers from the nasal cavity to the brain. It borders the crista galli, that is a vertical projection of ethmoid bone as you can see here in the diagram. Next component of ethmoidal bone is crista galli, that you can see here in the diagram. It is a short midline vertical projection arising from the cribriform plate. It serves as an attachment point for the phalanx cerebri, that is a dural membrane that separates the brain's two hemispheres or cerebral two hemispheres. Next anatomical component is perpendicular plate, that is a vertical structure extending from the cribriform plate into the nasal cavity. As you can see here in the diagram, this is the perpendicular plate. It contributes to the formation of nasal septum alongside the vomer and nasal cartilage. Next anatomical component is ethmoidal labyrinth, that are also called as lateral masses. They are paired spongy structure on either sides of perpendicular plate as you can see here in the diagram. They contain multiple ethmoidal air cells that are also called as ethmoidal air sinuses, that is divided into anterior ethmoidal air sinuses, middle ethmoidal air sinus and posterior ethmoidal air sinuses. Medially they form part of nasal wall, laterally they help shape the medial walls of orbit. Next anatomical component is superior and middle nasal conchae. It is a curved projection extending from the labyrinth into the nasal cavity. They increase surface area to warm, filter and humidify inhaled air. Now let's talk about articulations of ethmoid bone. Ethmoid bone articulate with 13 other bones including cranial bones that include frontal bone and sphenoid bone, and facial bone that include nasal bone, maxillary bone, lacrimal bone, inferior nasal conchae, palatine bone and vomer. Its central position make it a keystone of nasal and orbital architecture. Now let's talk about functions of the ethmoid bone. It supports smell by housing olfactory receptor. It shapes the nasal cavity and contributes to the airflow and filtration. It forms part of the orbit aiding in vision protection. It supports the brain structure anchoring the phalanx cerebri. Now let's talk about clinical significance of ethmoid bone. First is ethmoidal sinusitis. The ethmoidal sinusitis can cause deep set nasal pressure, headaches or even orbital complication. Second is cribriform plate fracture that may lead to cerebrospinal fluid leakage and pose a risk of meningitis. Next is, as it is a thin medial orbital wall, it is vulnerable to orbital blowout fracture. Now let's talk about conclusion of this lecture video. Though modest in size, the ethmoidal bone is vital in many ways, supporting brain tissue, enabling our sense of smell, forming part of the eye socket and anchoring delicate facial structure. Like a quiet backstage crew member, it's essential to the whole show running smoothly. And this was all about ethmoid bone. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. Thank you for watching.